Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to be demystifying the unseen mechanics of the web. We all use the internet every single day, yet so much of what actually makes it function remains completely invisible to us. Well, today we're pulling back the curtain on the absolutely critical infrastructure that makes your entire digital life possible.
So, let me start by posing a bit of a mystery for you. Why does the internet seem to break when your connection is actually perfectly fine? I mean, you've definitely experienced this exact super frustrating scenario. You try to browse the web, absolutely nothing is loading, and you're instantly ready to restart your router or impatiently call your internet service provider. But what if the physical connection was completely healthy? By the end of our explainer today, we're going to look at exactly how network technicians diagnose this and uncover a real insider secret as to why this happens. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The language barrier. Words versus numbers. Think about it. How do you visit your favorite website? Instinctively, you open up your browser and you just type in familiar, readable names like google.com or youtube.com, right? It's incredibly natural because our human brains are built to process and remember language. But what actually happens once you hit that enter key? Well, here's where we hit a massive language barrier. We use domain names, which are human language, words like google.com. But behind your screen, the routers, the switches, the actual servers that make up the internet, they don't understand the alphabet at all. They communicate strictly in numbers, specifically IP addresses, like 142.250.190.46. So there's this glaring disconnect. We speak in words, but the machine's running the whole show, talking complex numerical codes. Which brings us to Section 2, the digital phone book, Bridging the Gap.
Enter DNS, or the Domain Name System. You can think of this as the absolute backbone of web navigation. Simply put, DNS is the internet's phone book. It's the vital system that translates those human-friendly names we use into the computer-friendly IP addresses that the machines actually require. It's exactly like looking up a friend's name in your smartphone's contacts. You don't need to memorize their actual 10-digit phone number, right? You just search for their name, tap it, and your phone handles all the numbers behind the scenes to make the call. Well, DNS does the exact same thing for websites.
And this brilliantly illustrates how a familiar brand name translates directly into a physical server coordinate. A domain name, like Amazon.com, is just the easy-to-remember label. The corresponding IP address, like 54.239.28.85, is the actual geographic location of the server hosting that website somewhere out in the world. Without DNS making this translation for you, you would literally have to memorize a random string of numbers for every single website you ever wanted to visit. Yeah, no thanks.
All right, Section 3, the four-step lookup behind the scenes.
So what's actually happening when you type in a web address? It's a highly precise four-step conversation. Step 1 is the request. Your device essentially raises its hand and asks the telecom DNS server, hey, what's the IP for www.example.com? Step 2, the lookup. The DNS server quickly searches through its massive global database ledger. Step 3 is the answer. The DNS server replies back to your device saying, got it. The IP is 93.184.216.34. And finally, Step 4, the connection. Armed with that specific routing number, your browser can now load the site. Remarkably, this entire four-part back-and-forth conversation happens in less than the blink of an eye. We're talking milliseconds here. Moving on to Section 4, the Internet Illusion, the technician's secret.
We have absolutely all seen this dreaded error message. Site cannot be reached. It pops up on a blank screen and your stomach just drops. Instantly, our brains jump to the worst-case scenario. Customers see this on their laptop and immediately assume their internet is completely dead. They're thinking a tree took out a line or maybe their expensive router is totally fried. But remember that mystery we opened with? What if the physical connection is actually perfectly fine?
So, the crucial point is understanding the illusion. When a DNS server fails, the physical internet line is usually 100% active and working. The pipeline itself is wide open. The fiber optic or copper line running into your house is completely healthy and fully capable of transmitting data. But the digital phone book is missing. Your web browser is constantly asking for directions to website names and nobody is answering. The translation fails, so the website doesn't load, creating the perfect, incredibly frustrating illusion of a dead internet connection.
Okay, here is a specific diagnostic secret straight from the field. If you are ever in this frustrating situation, check your apps. If an application like WhatsApp on your phone is still sending and receiving messages perfectly fine, but your web browser absolutely refuses to load any websites, guess what? You don't have a dead internet line. You have a DNS issue. Why? Because apps like WhatsApp often communicate using direct IP numbers hard-coded right into the app's software. They don't even need the Phonebook. They bypass the missing DNS server entirely. Knowing this exact symptom saves field technicians hours of wasted troubleshooting time on a physical line that isn't actually broken.
Let's wrap things up with Section 5, Essential Technician Toolkit Field Guide to DNS IPs. In order to surf the web, every single device on your network needs a DNS IP address assigned to it. Usually this process is completely automated. A background protocol called DHCP automatically hands out these settings to your laptop, your smartphone, your smart TV. You literally never have to think about it. However, as we just learned, automation sometimes fails. Knowing the public DNS numbers yourself allows you to step in, override those automatic settings, and perform manual troubleshooting in the field to get that vital translation working again.
Now, what's really interesting here is that there are famous public DNS options that you can plug right into your device settings if your default provider goes down. Google's primary DNS is exceptionally easy to remember, 8.8.8.8, with a secondary fallback of 8.8.4.4. Then there's Cloudflare, highly regarded for privacy and speed, which uses 1.1.1.1. Typically, your telecom ISP provides their own DNS, which is automatically assigned and specific to their private network. But if your ISP's DNS servers crash, creating that internet illusion we just talked about, you can manually swap your computer's settings over to Google or Cloudflare to instantly get your internet browsing back online. It is a real game changer and an incredibly powerful trick to have in your back pocket.
Which brings us to our final thought for today. Armed with this new insider knowledge, let me ask you, the next time your browser throws up that dreaded "site cannot be reached" error, will you blindly blame your physical connection and start ripping out cables? Or will you remember the technician's secret, bypass the illusion, and check the internet's phone book? It completely changes how you look at the unseen mechanics of the web, doesn't it? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this gave you a fantastic new perspective on the everyday technology we rely on. Keep exploring, and I'll see you next time.